The meta in patch 13.7 is diverse in comps, yet very centralized around the power of two traits in particular, Hacker and Quick Draw. Both are incredibly oppressive, which has led to a fast-paced, reroll-centric metagame. In this video, I'll show you my tier list of the strongest comps, my strategy for climbing on this patch, and lastly, I'll cover how to play all the comps mentioned. But first, a quick word from today's sponsor. If you're interested in getting better at TFT, then the sponsor of today's video, Tacter, is just what you need. They have a Discord community filled with gamers that want to get better at their favorite game, and they provide a free in-depth library of guides for TFT and other games like League of Legends as well. All the guides they provide are up to date and written by experts like myself. And by joining their Discord, you get access to all of this, and you're able to learn from pros and get your questions answered. Soon, the Tacter platform will be released, where you'll be able to create and share your own guides and make money off of them. If all that sounds interesting, then click the link in the description or in the pinned comment to join, and once you're in, drop this emoji so the community knows where you came from. Infiniteam Sure Shots is the best non-reroll comp in the meta. The comp stabilizes nicely in the mid-game on level 7 or 8 with Samira 2, 5 Infiniteam, and the upgraded frontline, while also capping out very highly if you can go level 9 for Ultimate Ezreal 2-star. This comp is incredibly strong with +1 Infiniteam, so make sure to keep an eye out for that. Lucian Reroll is the best one-cost reroll comp in the game. With proper items like Blue Buff and Death Cap, Lucian deals a ton of single target damage, which allows you to streak through stage 4 and 5 once you hit your 3 stars. Gadgeteen Gnar Reroll is a new comp to the meta after Gnar received some buffs. This comp benefits from Gnar's one-shot potential by hackering him into the backline to take out carries and caps out incredibly high with 5 Gadgeteens. The strength of Hacker LeBlanc Reroll comes from the 2-star board's ability to cheese fights in the mid-game by hackering LeBlanc into the backline as a drain tank. This comp is heavily reliant on good admin and hitting LeBlanc 3-star, but if you have both, she often 1v9s fights into the late game. Spellslinger TF and Nico lands at the top of A tier as a powerful comp in the meta capable of winning games, but it costs a ton of gold, meaning you're often stuck rolling at level 7 or 8 for upgrades. The nerfs have made this more of a top 4 option you should default towards with AP items. Kaisa Reroll received some huge buffs in the last patch, and she is back as a premier AP carry in the meta. This comp is very flexible and has many high roll opportunities that can easily get you top 2s, but if you fall behind and can't hit, this comp really struggles to catch up. Warwick is still a decent AD option in the meta in both the Laser Core and Brawler comps, but he tends to struggle with opponents who clump up properly, and many carries like TF, Lucian, and MF often just one-shot him before he can do too much. Renegade Jhin and Viego is a good comp to play if you have a mix of AD and AP items slammed, but the comp relies on Leona and hitting Viego 2-star and Jhin 2-star. Without them, you'll bleed out very quickly. Anima Squad took a big hit with the recent MF nerfs, but the comp still remains playable under the right conditions, ideally if you get +1 Anima Squad, have good augments, or a strong opener to build stacks quickly. Mech Garen Flex has risen up as an option to pivot into if you don't have direction towards a particular comp, as you can put AD units like Bel'Veth and Samira and AP units like MF and Azel behind him to squeak out top 4s. Duelists are quite weak in the meta right now. There are a bunch of comps that can match its pace and outdamage it, especially since duelists are mostly low-cost units. You should only play this from a high-roll opener that allows you to tempo into a top 4 comp. Vex Reroll is only playable with +1 mascot and multiple tiers, as the comp tends to struggle sustaining its frontline long enough for Vex to kill enemies. Hacker Draven is still a decent comp, but struggles with multiple bad matchups in the current meta, and it's also heavily reliant on hitting both Draven and Pyke 3-star early to start pushing levels for 5 mech, which is hard to do. Now let's get into my strategy for climbing on this patch. The 5 viable opening components are Tier, Bow, Rod, Belt, and Chain. Tier lets you play LeBlanc, Spellslingers, or Quick Draws, while allowing you to default into Lucian Reroll without a strong opener. Bow is the best opener for Infiniteam, Warwick, and Samira, while also keeping you open to TF, Kaisa, and Jhin. Rod is similar to Tier, but it trades the easy access to Lucian Reroll for better items for Renegades and Spellslingers. Belt and Chain keep you flexible between pretty much every comp in the meta at the cost of immediate direction, so I would only recommend this to more experienced players. In the early game, you want to try and win streak and preserve HP as much as possible, or full open to start stacking econ. Here are a couple of examples of early game AD boards you can play around. Laser Core Ashe, 4 Duelists, and Draven with any frontline. And here are some AP boards: Infiniteam Quick Draw or Renegade Lucian, Spellslinger Lux, or Anima Squad Jinx. By stage 3, you should have an idea what comp you intend on playing and when you want to roll for your board. If you are playing a standard comp, you should level to 7 and roll down on 3-5 if you are low in HP with a lot of money, or in most games on 4-1 for upgraded frontline plus your 4-cost carry. If you are playing a 2 or 3-cost reroll comp, you should usually roll down on 3-2 to stabilize and start your win streak. Lobby tempo is generally very high in the mid game, so when you lose rounds, you tend to get blown out due to reroll players spiking and traits like Infiniteam, Oxforce, and Hacker, so be sure to stabilize your board on level 7 before pushing level 8. Now let's take a look at each individual comp, and they will all be linked in an Imgur album that is available for patrons and YouTube members, and the link to join that is down in the description. First up is Infiniteam, which usually rolls at level 7 for 1 TF, as 5 Infiniteam is the most important spike for this comp. If your board is weak even with 5 Infiniteam, you should continue rolling until you hit an upgraded 4-cost unit, like Samira 2 or Garen 2 before going level 8. If you have an Infiniteam spat, you should always try to play 7 Infiniteam, and put the spat on Garen or Fiddlesticks. Prioritize making items for Samira, as she uses the same items as Ultimate Ezreal, and use Sivir as your item holder. Samira and Ultimate Ezreal's best items are Last Whisper and IE, with Rageblade, Hurricane, Deathblade, Giant Slayer, Hodge, Gunblade, and Guardbreaker being good options. Put your tank items on Garen, and any extra attack speed or AP items on TF. Lucian is a 1-cost reroll comp, meaning you should never level on stage 2 and try to hoard as much gold as possible. On 3-1, you should roll down to 20 to 30 gold to try and hit as many 1-cost copies as possible, then slow roll at level 5 until you Blitzcrank, Silas, and Lucian 3. Push levels for 4 Quick Draw, and Riven after. Always build blue buff for Lucian first, then Deathcap second, unless you have AP from other sources. Any third item can work, like JG, Giant Slayer, Gunblade, and Hodge. Blitzcrank should always carry your tank items unless you have Kingslayer, and his only core item is Stoneplate. Any other tank items will work on him. Unlike other AP comps, Magic Shred from Shiv or Spark isn't a top priority, but you should still try to build it if possible. Once you start pushing levels, you start making items for Misfortune, as that is the best way to cap out late game. Gadgeteen Gnar Reroll is a 3-cost reroll comp that prefers to roll level 7. If you have +1 Gadgeteen, play this board with Lulu instead of Nunu and Alistar out. If you don't have +1 Gadgeteen or Nunu at level 7, play 3 Gadgeteen, 3 Hacker, and a flex unit like Echo. The Gadgeteen spat goes on either LeBlanc, Shen, or Pyke, with LeBlanc being the priority if you aren't 3-starring any of them. Try to 3-star LeBlanc, Shen, Pyke, and Annie if you can, but give up on them and focus on Gnar if you have to, as they are only bonuses. Gnar's most important item is healing, like BT or Hodge, followed by Last Whisper. The last item can be a second healing item or a damage item like Titans, Deathblade, or Giant Slayer. Throw your tank items on Annie and any AP items on LeBlanc. Hacker LeBlanc is a 3-cost reroll comp that prefers to roll level 6 with this board, where you either drop Sona or drop 4 admin for Morgana if the admin is bad, or if you don't have Shiv or Spark. You can also roll at level 7 with 4 admin or Morgana and a flex unit like Defenders or Legendary if you aren't able to go for Pyke 3-star, but he is the most important unit outside of LeBlanc, so this is generally not recommended. Typically, you want to roll down on 3-2 to stabilize your board if you are weak, by hitting 3-star Hacker and some upgrades. Morgana 3, Sona 3, and Shen 3 are also big upgrades, so go for them if you have the gold, but prioritize LeBlanc and Pyke. LeBlanc's best items are blue buff, as it allows her to cast as fast as possible to nuke the enemy backline. After that, she wants either 2 damage items like JG, Archangels, or Deathcap, or a damage item like Edge of Night for survivability. Itemize Pyke with any extra items you have, like Spark for Shred, and Sunfire or Morello for anti-heal. Spellslinger boards prefer to roll level 8 to hit 2-star forecasts, Janna and Syndra, but you should usually roll level 7 as you're often contested and the comp still plays well with just 4 Oxforce for Spellslingers. Drop Echo from this board on your roll down to stabilize and put him in at level 8. At level 9, drop Sona and Echo for Syndra and Janna, and add in Nunu. Prioritize making Shred in either Spark or Shiv, and itemizing TF first is usually more consistent as he provides single target damage, but you shouldn't be too picky as itemizing Nico works well too. TF's best items are Rageblade, Shiv, JG, Giant Slayer, Hodge, Gunblade, Deathcap, Archangels, and Guardbreaker, while Nico's best items are JG, Guardbreaker, Sojin, Giant Slayer, Deathcap, and Archangels. Tank items can go on Annie or Echo, and any extra carry items can go on Viego. Kaisa is another 3-cost reroll comp that prefers to roll level 7, unless you have Hold the Line, in which case you would roll level 6. There are 2 boards for this comp. the 4 Defender board, which you should lean towards in AD heavy lobbies, and the 4 Star Guardian board. If you get a Star Guardian spat, put it on MF and prioritize itemizing her. While rolling for Kaisa 3, you should also prioritize Rel 3, Nyla 3, and Riven 3. If you can hit Rel 3, itemize her with tank items, otherwise put him on Garen or Echo. Kaisa's 2 core items are Gunblade and Shiv, and the 3rd item can be any AP item like Guardbreaker, Deathcap, Archangels, Rageblade, or Giant Slayer. Next up is Renegades. This board prefers to roll level 8, but you should usually roll level 7 to hit Jhin and Viego, who is usually very contested. Plus 1 Renegade is great for this comp, allowing you to drop Camille for Syndra or another legendary unit, or play 7 Renegade at level 8. If you can fully upgrade your board, you can usually top 4, but you need strong augments or to start itemizing Leona to do better. Jhin's best items are Last Whisper, Deathblade, IE, Ruidance, and Giant Slayer, while Viego wants Spark, a healing item, preferably Hodge, and any AP item like JG, Deathcap, or Titans. If you are able to start itemizing Leona, you want to get mana items like WoW and Blue Buff to cast quicker, BT to heal her up, and RFC or Edge of Night to keep her safe. Anima Squad usually wants to roll level 7 for MF, Riven 2, and upgrade her frontline before pushing level 8, since you don't need legendary units. This is the standard board, but if you have Spread Shot Vayne, play Nyla over Kaisa and Reroll at level 7 for Vayne 3, Riven 3. Play Gnar with +1 Prankster, and if you get an Anima Squad spat, play 7 and put it on Echo. MF's best items are Sojin and Archangels, while JG, Guardbreaker, Deathcap, Hodge, and Gunblade are decent options, while Vayne's best items are Sojin, Deathblade, IE, Guardbreaker, and Giant Slayer. Mech is the frontline of choice when you have no direction and tank items are slammed. You usually will itemize your Garen, but the highest cap is Mech Leona 2-star, where one of your flex spots is taken by Echo. There are many ways to play around Mech, both AD and AP, which are usually Samira, Asol, or MF carry. These are only sample boards, so what you play will depend on your items and what you hit. Legendaries like Fiddle, Urgot, and Janna fit especially well on these boards. Garen's best tank item is WoW, which allows him to cast his stun as early as possible and gives him a huge shield. Any other tank items like Stoneplate, Redemption, Bramble, Dragon's Claw, and Bloodthirsters are great options. MF's and Samira's best items were previously mentioned in the previous comps, while Asol's best items are Blue Buff to apply anti-heal as soon as possible, Archangels for scaling damage and an early cast, and another AP or healing item like Gunblade, Rabadon's, Hodge, JG, or Guardbreaker. Thank you so much for watching. If you learned something, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you want cheat sheets for any of my comp guides, they're available for YouTube members and patrons, and the links to those are down in the description. And if you want to get better at TFT, join the Discord. We got over 9,000 other players there who are hungry to climb. And if you want to get coached by me, the information is over on the Discord server as well. So take care and see you in the next video.